the defibrillator to restart the heart, this condition can be fatal. And I think it's 90% fatal. Hi, my name is Dr. Omar Perez. I'm an orthopedic surgeon and sports medicine specialist. And today we're going to talk about what people have been talking about, the most controversial injury, Damar Hamlin's chest injury that occurred game between the Bengals and the Bills. And this is a very, very rare injury. It's an injury that us as orthopedic surgeons, we only read of it in the books. There's a few questions that we get asked when we are taking the boards, and there's only one question you can ask for this injury. And even though most of us have never seen it or will never see it, hopefully, in our careers, the moment that we see this collapse in the field, we have a sense of what it is. So if you look carefully at the injury, Damar is a safety, so he was going to tackle an incoming player. So while he's trying to receive the player, the right shoulder of the opponent hits him right on the sternum. So you can actually see the impact. He grapples him, lands on the ground, and when he stands up, it spends a few seconds and then he completely collapsed. And then that's when the paramedics had to rush to the field. It was seen that he wasn't breathing, he didn't have a pulse, he was going on cardiac arrest. They needed to do CPR, they needed to use a defibrillator to jumpstart him in a sense. And then once he recovered pulse, he was rushed to the hospital. It was reported that he was unconscious and on cardiac arrest for 10 minutes. That means he was technically dead for 10 minutes. But thank God that they were able to do the right measures and revive him. Now he has been discharged from the hospital. He went all the tests. He was right when he got to the hospital, got an induced coma. That's when they completely sedate you. They put a tube in your throat so you don't have to worry about breathing until they run all the tests and make sure that your heart is beating properly. This is a condition called commotio cordis, and it's a commotion to the heart. And it's an injury that it's caused by a blunt trauma to the chest. It's most commonly known in baseball when someone gets hit by the ball by a pitch or a batted ball and lands straight in the chest. And that impact on the chest occurs at a specific moment when the heartbeat is in a beating cycle in which it causes an electrical disorganization of impulses in the heart, and that disorganized impulse causes the heart to stop beating, and it goes into ventricular tachycardia, which is it's an abnormal flutter of the heart. So the heart is not pumping blood as it's supposed to, so there's no blood to go to the brain, and because there's no efficient pumping of the blood through the brain, that's when the patient loses consciousness. And it's because the heart can't find its rhythm. If you don't go and do the defibrillator to restart the heart, this condition can be fatal. And I think it's 90% fatal. Luckily, in the football setting, as part of the football community, whether it's high school, college, or professional, during every football game, there has to be an EMT outside the door in case some injury happens, whether it's spinal cord injury or something major. Because of that regulation that an EMT has to be within the premises, it's why they were able to save his life, because the EMT is the one that has the defibrillator to jumpstart the heart and reboot it. Without that, there's very poor prognosis. So that's what saved his life, the defibrillation, and the fact that they were able to do the CPR and keep the oxygen flowing through his body. So commotio cordis, I've never seen it. I was impressed when I saw it, and this is something so rare that perhaps you're gonna capture it on TV once in a lifetime. So now that everybody that likes football knows that this can happen, everybody should be aware that when someone collapses on the floor, the best thing you can do if there's nobody around is to start doing CPR, because that can save someone's life. Is Damar gonna come back and play again? Geez, that's a very personal. If I was him, I mean, I'm lucky to be alive. I wouldn't take any chances, because his heart, he probably might have some damage to his heart that will show up later in life, because that's a very big trauma. He's healthy now, but if I was him, I would just call it quits. And unfortunately, it's a career. To me, it will be a career-ending injury. It's better to be alive than to have money and not be alive. That's my take. So now you know it. The name is commotion cordis, and it's a life-threatening condition. Thank God that Damar Hamlin it's alive to tell his story.
What's the question that they ask you guys in ortho school?
It's basically they tell you it's in a baseball game. A player got hit by a ball in the middle of the chest, and all of a sudden he collapses. And they tell you what are the possible diagnoses on what's the next best thing to do to improve survival in this patient. And all of a sudden the question is, shock him. The heart isn't offbeat, so unless you shock it and reboot the heart, it's not gonna function properly. And you can do CPR, but if you don't get the normal rhythm back, the patient it's in trouble.
Do they ever have like a wrong answer that looks like it's right?
Something
you're like, damn, I should have known.
Well, you can say heat stroke if it's they will put a sentence that it's in a hot day. But what there's another condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a genetic condition in which the young patient is born with an enlarged heart, and then all of a sudden the patient is running and it collapses. So that presents similar to commotion cordis, but there's no trauma. Okay, the fact here is that there was a blunt chest trauma, and following that, automatic collapse of the individual. That's what takes it. That's what gives it away.
Bueno, sí.